Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. Sandro Musgrove here. I hope you guys are well. Give this video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe on the channel for all the best Newcastle United content. Today's video is 5 things we learned from Newcastle United in training ahead of the Champions League clash against Borussia Dortmund. Number 1, Sandro Tonali trains. Now, there's been plenty of discussion about whether Tonali would already be banned before the Champions League game against Borussia Dortmund came around. But as you can see from the video playing next to me, Sandro Tonali has been training with his teammates. Now, you guys need no reminder about the situation Tonali finds himself in. He's awaiting news on an imminent ban from football for illegal betting. He's admitted to the prosecutor placed bets on teams he was playing for, namely AC Milan, and that he has a gambling addiction. He got a lovely reception against Crystal Palace on Saturday, a lovely round of applause when he was warming up midway through the game. Then when he came on, the sound around St James Park was something unbelievable, and then around the pitch after the game had ended, it felt like goodbye. I think many people thought news of a ban would come in either Monday or today, Tuesday, but the word is it has to be registered. So if it's not registered by the end of play today, it looks like Tonali will stand a chance of being involved against Borussia Dortmund. Eddie Howe said in his press conference, as far as I'm aware, I'm expecting him to be available tomorrow. I'll plan like that until told differently. He's trained today. I've heard very little because I've been preparing for the game. So it's a brilliant option for Newcastle United to have. Will Sandro Tonali start? I don't think he will. I think if Joelinton is fit, he would be the first choice in that midfield. You can't see Bruno nor Longstaff dropping out for Tonali. I think Joelinton is the one who is most at risk, but Joelinton has also been training. Obviously, he's just come back from a bit of an injury, but he looked all right against Palace. Not fully fit, but did a good enough job. Was a presence in the middle of the park. If he's fit and raring to go, I think it'll be Joelinton. But what an option to have off the bench in Sandro Tonali. Number 2, it's great to see that Newcastle United are including players who are not in the Champions League squad in their training sessions. So if you look closely, you can see Emil Kraft is involved and Matt Ritchie, 2 players not in the Champions League squad. And funny enough, Eddie Howe was also asked about Matt Ritchie in the press conference about what the midfielder brings to the squad, because, you know, he's a great influence on and off the pitch. And he said about Ritchie's role behind the scenes that Matt has been a role model for a lot of the players. Attitude has been first class. He's very loud and is a real leader. You need characters like that. He's trained as if he's starting, and that's a huge thing for me. And if you listen closely during the video, during the training session video, you will hear someone shouting a lot, and I think it is Matt Ritchie. He's very vocal. He sets really high standards, and having him in the squad, I think, really pushes those players who obviously are within a chance of starting just that little bit more. Matt Ritchie is not going to let anyone have a day off. And Emil Kraft as well, great to see him involved and working back to hopefully some sort of fitness in which he can feature and maybe even win himself a new deal at Newcastle United. His deal expires in the summer, rocked by a horrible injury, but it'll do him the world of good, mix him with the squad and just taking part in training, like I say, working back to that full fitness. Probably the biggest takeaway from the training video that's been released, it's Joe Willock back amongst it. Now, how close is Joe Willock to return to the first team? Well, Eddie Howe said he's close, but let's be honest, Eddie Howe says one thing and something else happens entirely. Would I be surprised if Joe Willock starts tomorrow? Not at all. You know, we've seen with the Sven Botman injury, Eddie Howe said Sven Botman was close last week before the Crystal Palace game, and it turns out actually he's a few weeks away from returning. So Eddie Howe never wants to give the full story. He wants to keep things close to his chest. You can understand that you don't want to give your secrets up because it helps the opposition, doesn't it? And it disrupts your preparation. But you can see in this video, Joe Willock is back amongst the squad training, looking like he's ready to feature, and it's a massive boost just to have him back training, what it seems like full training as well. I think having him back amongst the group will do him the world of good and do the squad the world of good and push those players in the position where he would be playing that little bit further. You know, he was in great form towards the end of last season. He needs to add more goals to his game, but if he can do that, he offers something really special to Newcastle. He can be that goal scoring midfielder that perhaps they are lacking, and if he adds goals to his game, he'll be within a shout of Gareth Southgate's England squad without a shadow of a doubt. But let's see what happens with Joe Willock. Will Dortmund come too soon from? You would probably think so. They're not going to rush him back because of the nature of the injury. He's had a few setbacks. I think everyone expected him to be back well before October. As it is, like I say, a few knockbacks. He's been very unfortunate. Newcastle United have missed him, I think, just as an option to have, because he's a total different player to anything they've got in that midfield. And I can't wait to see him back in black and white. Let's see if he features against Dortmund.
Was that 5 minutes?
6 in a bit.
I won't bother with this.
It looks a bit cool on Tyneside, doesn't it? A lot of the players training today at Benton are wrapped up with gloves, nice woolly hats, and it looks like a few layers. I didn't think it was that cold when I got in the car this morning. I've been out at dinner time to get me Greggs. I still don't think it's all that cold, but I suppose if you're outside for an hour or two, you might want to wrap up warm. If you've seen the Borussia Dortmund players landing at Newcastle Airport, you will see a lot of them have come like Newcastle is the coldest place on earth. It's not at all. It's actually still quite mild, I think, for October, but maybe the temperatures are changing. It's going to be interesting to see if that has an impact on the game tomorrow. You know, how many players will be wearing gloves, long sleeves. Will we even have to get them out in the press box to cover our hands while trying to write the match reports? Who knows? But yeah, some of these players seem to be feeling the temperature on Tyneside. I don't think it's as cold for hats and gloves just yet, but hey, that's up to them. It is all smiles. I mean, you can just hear a little bit of the banter in the training video. You can see everyone's laughing. Eddie Howe is having a whale of the time. Something very funny has happened off camera, as you can see here, and everyone is just loving it. There's a real good atmosphere within the squad. Everyone is smiling. There's jokes, there's banter. It feels like a really good group to be involved in, doesn't it? And you can see everyone's just happy. Now, obviously, that's accelerated by the great form they're in, the fact that they're top of the group as well, the fact that they're not really fearing Borussia Dortmund. They're not underestimating them, but they don't fear them, I don't think. I think the way the fans are feeling as well, I think they'll come into this game full of confidence, and that will play into the good factor within the squad as well. But everyone just seems happy, pulling in the right direction, and that is testament to what Eddie Howe has built at Newcastle United, because not all these players will start, not all these players will be in the squad, and as we've said, some of them training aren't even available to be picked in the squad because they've not been registered, because of obviously the numbers that they can include. But no one's kicking up a fuss. No one is making it difficult for the manager. They're all just pulling in the same direction, singing off the same hymn sheet, whatever analogy you want to use, and that's really good to see. Everyone looks like they're having a really good time, but working hard at it as well. It's really good to see that it's all smiles in the Newcastle United camp.